Welcome to the Whensday Warm-Up. You are here on the live stream on YouTube on the Inside Show, but you are tuned into the Whensday Warm-Up with me, your host, Lee. Hello. And we've got my very trusty psychic over here. We've got Mr. Miller. How you doing?
Top of the morning to you, Leandra. Man, oh man, it is that time again. The Whensday Warm-Up, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you so much for tuning in. I'm so excited. I said top of the morning, top of the afternoon, and top of the evening to wherever you're joining us around the world, because you know that's just how we do it here, man. We have people all over the world that are tuned in, and we just want to shout out to all of you that is tuned in this morning. So we're discussing a really awesome topic this morning. I'm actually excited to get into this topic because I myself was involved in this topic. Man, I'm just so ready.
Yes. So I sent Mr. Miller a message in the week, and I'm like, okay, so here's the poster, and this is what we're talking about.
Yeah.
And he's like, awesome. It's like, I didn't know that this conversation gets you so hyped up, eh?
Yeah.
What are you trying to say?
Yeah,
but anyway, no judgment here. We love everybody. We don't judge you. Do what you want to do. God loves you, and that's all that matters. Only God can judge me. Thank you so much. Right. Who said that? Was it Tupac?
Only God can judge me.
Yeah, only
Didn't
God
Chris
can.
Brown also say that?
Yeah, think about it. Okay, so let's introduce our other co-host here in studio, our chef, who hasn't cooked anything for the last. I think our chef only cooked thrice on this show. And now, but
maybe
anyway,
four.
You know what? Like I said, no judgment here. We love everybody. It's Mr. Was Cooking, good-looking Jezzo. Hello.
Hello. Good morning, Lee. Good morning, Lee. Good morning, Mr. Miller.
Good morning,
and good morning
Jezzo.
to our beautiful viewers out there, man. Hope you're having an awesome morning, guys. Hope you're having an awesome one.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's a very interesting topic today. Eh? A hot one.
Hey. Excuse the pun, eh? Excuse the pun there. But we also want to introduce to you our anchor, because he's the one that's going to be steering the ship for us this morning, because apparently he has quite a lot of knowledge on this topic.
Wow.
We were actually quite shocked, because when he came in with the tools. He was ready.
Like, we don't know if that tool is from experience.
But no judgment.
It's just when he stressed out people.
So we want to introduce him to you. You will know him from the other shows. It's the first time on our show. We've got the one and only Mr. Rowe. Hello.
Good morning, everyone. Wow,
Morning,
it's good to
Mr.
be
Rowe.
on this show with the young'uns.
Hey, the young'uns.
Maybe we don't know, because you are the one bringing the tools.
Hey,
So
I don't know. Maybe we the old ones and you the young ones.
Mr. Rowe, let us know about you, the Whensday Warm-Up guests, viewers. Who is Mr. Rowe? What are we doing?
Well, Mr. Rowe is an anchor on all the inside shows. I bring in all the information, the facts.
Hey.
So if you want to know what is real, you can speak to Mr. Rowe and I'll give you what is real.
Mr.
Yes.
Facts.
And I'm excited about this topic, because not only is it Anti-Tobacco Month, but I never realized the effects and the impact it has on everything that's going around today. So, wow, I'm excited to have this chat.
Yes,
I think Mr. Rowe's new name can be Real Rowe.
Real Rowe.
Hey.
Real Rowe.
Yes. Hey.
And I did bring my tools with me.
Hey. Pew, 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 pew.
Oh man.
We just want to put a disclaimer out there. Ricky Real for who? We've got Rowdy Real. Our very own Rowdy Real.
Rowdy Real.
She want me back.
Yep.
I left that tobacco. She want me back.
I say your mistake is your mistake. We just want to say out there, your mistake is your mistake, but you can rectify it today on the show. But anyway, guys, we're going to jump straight into it, because we've got another amazing guest also that is joining us all the way from Los Angeles.
Come on.
International. Mills. We've got them all here. We've got them all here.
That's just like we're the international show.
The international show,
Come on.
basically.
Yeah.
Hey.
Cape Town's also international. We had
True.
Enrico.
We had Enrico, Cape Town. Yes. So we want to also, first and foremost, before we get into our next segment, we want to say hello to our amazing guests. We've got Adele Hayes. Auntie Ads, we love you. We thank you for always. This is a faithful follower. I must say, I feel like we need to give her an award for her
I agree.
faithfulness, because she's on every show. She's there, man. Morning Auntie Ads. She says, glad I remembered to tune in, Lee. So the conversation around that is Sunday we had lunch at her daughter's house, and she was telling me, you know what, I love to join. I always want to watch, but I keep forgetting. So I was like, the notification girl.
That's it.
Hit that bell. Hit that bell.
And the one thing I like of Auntie Adele is when Auntie Adele logs off
Yeah.
and she comes back, she lets you know, okay, guys, I'm
back. I'm back.
Thank
That
you,
is the
Auntie
energy
Adele.
we need, and we thank you. We thank you so much. But we're going to get into a segment that we love to call here on the Whensday Warm-Up, Breaking News. Mr. Miller, what are the headlines today?
Thank you so much. So the trending topics coming through on Twitter is Bitcoin. So we'll jump straight into Bitcoin. We see that Bitcoin...
Your favorite topic.
Yes,
Hey,
my favorite
favorite.
topic. I'm an investor, an aspiring investor, and that is why... actually, right now, this topic is trending. It is currently below $40,000 US dollars mark as China warns about cryptos. So right now, it is actually it's actually at a low, and it
So
could
wait, can I
poten-
just understand this? There's a new player on the horizons, maybe.
Well, there could potentially
Allegedly.
be. There's quite a few new players that is in the space right now, but I think ultimately the reasons for this is Elon Musk released a statement not too long ago about what Bitcoin mining is doing to the economy. So it's taking up a lot of electricity, and basically this is the reason why we see Bitcoin dropping on the market.
Okay.
Interesting topic.
Later.
If you want to get into crypto, please do some research. There's a lot of opportunities for investment, and you could potentially be a crypto millionaire in a few years to come if you do the act on it right now.
We receive.
Come on. So the second topic that we're looking at also is petrol. So basically, people are literally just giving a shout out to all petrol attendants. I don't know if you guys have really encountered really awesome petrol attendants, and on Twitter people
Yeah.
are like, you know,
The garage that we go to, we
Yeah.
have the best petrol
Always.
attendants.
you
They-
think so?
Yeah, the
I
ones.
think I got a best.
The ones at BP Olivedale, shout out to you. Those guys are on
the
point. They're
real
friendly.
ones.
I know Uncle Dave, shout out to you. Happy, shout out to you. All the Owens, Donkey Owens,
And Frau Owens.
and the Vrouwens. The Owens and the Vrouwens, shout out to you.
And then also, I think I just want to send a shout out to the engine in Devlin. Those guys, Sianda and them all, you guys are phenomenal. If you're watching the show, these guys give me like a proper pamper.
Hey,
give my
man.
car pamper.
Pampering.
You know, so I just want to send a shout out to them. So if you do come into contact with any petrol attendant, man, just give them a shout out. Just show some love. And yeah, you know, just smile and wave a little bit.
Smile and wave.
And then the last topic that we have also here on the Wednesday warm-up is that it is the voting season. I don't know if you've seen, I'm from El Dorado Park, and actually the PA is getting themselves ready to go to the poll. So I just want to also bring attention to that. And that is basically how we're going to sum up the breaking news segment. And yeah.
It seems to me that Auntie Ads is. I know that she is into investing and stuff like that, trading. She's a trader herself. So she's saying, yes, I'm in an amazing opportunity. Bitcoin will rise again.
Wow.
Come on.
Rise again. So yeah, no, we see you, Auntie Ads. We
Hey,
see you.
I can
Jess
see
wants to
Eldrin
say
as
something.
I saw Eldrin, we pulled a face. I don't know what he's thinking.
No, I have a completely opposite opinion to
Okay.
that, but you're entitled to your opinion.
Okay.
right?
I
True.
agree with Auntie Adele.
Yeah, you
It's-
think
I think
Bitcoin
it
will rise
yeah.
again.
We've had this conversation literally every single year with people with Bitcoin. They say, Bitcoin's dying, it dropped. Yeah, and then the next year, in 3-4 months, it's at the highest it's ever been again. It's
Yeah.
been an ongoing conversation. And no one can predict the markets, but I feel like it will pick up again.
Before we move on, I just want to say
Yes.
that potentially looking at the possible solution for Bitcoin. If Bitcoin gets a better source of mining the actual coin, instead of using so much electricity, then we could potentially see
But if you look at it, because I've been doing a lot of Bitcoin mining,
some financial literacy
Okay.
happening here on
This
the
show has
Wednesday warm-up.
officially
You know,
changed
now
from
we're talking
anti-tobacco to Bitcoin.
We should
eh?
actually cover a segment on that.
But with the mining thing,
Yeah.
they don't really use that much electricity. It depends what you are mining. If you're using GPU, if you're using whatever. But GPU mining doesn't take that much
It's
electricity.
okay, Jess. We'll cover this
So
on another one.
we definitely need to get onto this topic because it clearly gets the guys, they get it. Hookah gets the longer pumping, Bitcoin gets these Owens pumping.
I love it. I love it.
Yeah, no, but stick to Bitcoin. Children, don't smoke. Go to Bitcoin. It will get your longer pumping in your heart work. Okay. So listen, let's get into it. We're gonna get straight into the conversation. May 2021, or May, is known as Anti-Tobacco or No Tobacco Month, and basically what this campaign is for, it's where various organizations, including the World Health Organization, campaign to spread awareness on the dangers of this drug. So they call tobacco a drug.
That's correct.
Which I agree with because it is addictive.
It is addictive.
And so they are correct in saying that tobacco is a drug, right? So since 2016, every year more than 42,100 of its people are killed by tobacco-caused disease. And this is the reason why it's such an important topic. Mr. Rowe, at this point, I'd like to give over to you so that you can just delve into it a bit more. And then we're going to introduce our guest. While you're at it, after you just give a brief intro, could you just introduce our guest to us and we'll get him on the line and we'll jump into this conversation that we've all been waiting for.
Great stuff. And I think nobody stresses the importance of this addictive drug.
Yes.
Because it is so prevalent, especially in our communities. You guys, I told Lee, what happened was, I'm part of the Amplify cohort, right, in America, and specifically one of the important topics that they address is anti-tobacco, right? And our guest that I will introduce just now is the Fundi, the originator, and really the founder of Amplify. So you'll be able to elaborate on that. But now, when I went onto the street, because they asked me to go onto the street and take some photos of what is happening in our community. So I went to Kliptown, driving back from the Spa and Extension 2, wherever I see guys gathering, I would stop and ask them, can I just take a photo of you guys to show how they are actually smoking? Literally, what is this is the reality. Youngsters from early the age of 8 years right up to, young adults are smoking the hookah pipe, right?
Yeah.
And they are not aware of the addictive drug that it is because it contains variants of tobacco and nicotine.
Yes.
And I guess that's the danger. And that's the reason why we are wanting to bring this awareness, because they don't realize the health risk or the implication of smoking hookah. And, the question that I wanted to ask, that I'm going to ask you guys, is obviously,
Come on.
has anybody ever been involved in vaping hookah?
Definitely.
Smoking the hookah. You're gonna
definitely.
give me, you guys are gonna give us the lowdown on that.
Definitely.
But I want to introduce our guest, right? Reverend Calvin Sauls is an El Dorado Park native.
Come on.
Right, and he's been in the U.S. now for forever. I think when he left the shores, he decided, I'm not coming back. But I want to take this opportunity to welcome him and thank him for this opportunity to be part of the Amplified cohort, and he can give us a little bit more about who he is and just introduce himself. Reverend Calvin Sauls, we welcome you, sir.
Hecha, who's the last show? It's good to see you guys. It's a little after midnight here, so I am awake, asleep. I don't know what I am. I might be sleepwalking, sleep sitting, sleep zooming. How about that? I might be sleep zooming. So But it's good to see you guys. I hope you can hear me. Um, Good to see all of you. Thanks for having us on Insights. This is great to be with my peeps. You know, at Crystal Church, Eldo's Cliptown. When you talk about the Spine Extension too, I happen to know the owner, Ozzy. You know, we went to Rao together. So you kind of you're making me homesick, Roden. You know what I'm saying? Up with that. You know, and I don't know where Roden got that hookah, guys, but I'm suspicious. So I think we need to let the pastor know what's going on. Anyway, I am glad to be with you for this very important conversation. And I am Reverend Calvin Sauls, born and raised in Cliptown and El Dorado Park, currently living and working in Los Angeles. I've been in the US for about 30 years or so, and a pastor here. Currently, I work at an organization called Community Health Councils, and we work around health equity and systems change, you know, here in the city and the county of Los Angeles. And so we're having a great time with that. Also, I work with a great organization called the African American Tobacco Control Council, co-chaired by a dear friend and colleague of mine, Carol Magruder, and she is also here and she's going to join us. Their program arm is called Amplify, and basically Amplify is all about, you know, fostering holistic health, mentally, physically, you know, spiritually, in all aspects of our lives. And so because, you know, I live at the intersection of South Joburg and South LA, you know, it's always important for me to explore what are some of the issues that are going on in these two countries and cities and communities, and how do we as people of faith, followers of Jesus Christ, how do we respond to what people are actually dealing with? For me, gospel has got to be real. It ain't this pie in the sky kind of a thing. You know, God is concerned about who you are, where you are, and what you're going through. And so, you know, through, you know, Carol's support and Amplify, we created a faith leaders cohort, you know, of pastors from California, pastors from South Africa, and pastors from Namibia. And guess what? Somehow that hookah got Pastor Roden on this group, you know. So I just want to let y'all know, you know, he got on, and he's a part of this, you know, international cohort of 3 countries. And so glad that we were able to get him and Crystal Church as a part of it. I want to thank Dr. Mary, you know, for her work on it. But right now, you know, part of the work is, you know, how do we invite people to pursue healthy living, right? To pursue wellness. As you know, COVID-19, you know, has to do with our respiratory system. And if you like me, every time I come home, I see a hookah everywhere. When I go down the highway on Mopani Street or Kramatar Street, whatever the street is, folk are sitting everywhere around hookah. I mean, I have family members hanging around.
And I think Reverend Sauls?
Tobacco Month, and looking forward to the conversation. Glad to be here, and so glad that Carol Magruder is here, who will also share, you know, some thoughts on this. But we want to get to the facts. We want to have a real and relevant conversation, you know, so that we can see how we can move our people, you know, towards health and wellness, because that's what God desires for each one of us. And so looking forward to getting into it, Pastor Roden. All of the young peeps, the young'uns.
Can just start the conversation here. You guys are the young'uns.
Yep.
The young'uns, right?
Got that straight.
So I would want to ask, please tell me your exposure to the hookah, the Oka pipe, as
Oka
it is
pipe.
known. I actually phoned some of my nieces and nephews last night, and I said, please organize me a hookah. So I said, what? They asked me, what is a hookah? I said, Oh, then they said Hookah pipe. They said, yes, that's what I mean. Right?
Yeah.
So there's various names. Some people call it a water pipe. And that, shisha. And
Yeah.
that. But let's start this conversation. What was your exposure to the hookah?
Well,
Don't
everyone's
give me
looking
that
at me.
smile. Don't give me that
No.
smile.
I was gonna jump in onto the conversation, but I want to respect my
surrounding,
co-hosts.
yeah.
Yeah, I want to respect my peers. I was gonna jump in on the conversation, but you want to start, or is the ladies first?
Ladies
Ladies first.
Okay, I don't
yeah.
mind. I don't mind. The ladies leading the conversation
Come
here.
on.
So my exposure to
ducking
it,
out.
obviously, I grew up in a Christian home, right? So there was no way that I was even gonna try to hide a hookah in my cupboard or under the bed. There was no way. So I relied on my friends who had access.
Come on.
Okay. To the hookah or the oka or a pipe, But so I was exposed to it through friends, and I started smoking it. The first puff was like, so it must be the prayers of my parents, because it never stuck with me. I could never get into it, It was always like I used to get nar from it. I don't know, was it the coal or the flavor? Was I not pulling right? I could never make the pipe. I wasn't the pipe maker. So because I would just burn
levels to
everything,
this.
There's levels. And this thing, you need like special grace
Yeah.
to make a pipe, eh?
You need a
Not
hand.
anybody can make a pipe. That's what I know. So that's my exposure to it. So I didn't really get into it. I would smoke it occasionally when I see people like smoking it or whatever. I remember my favorite flavor, though. Can I say that?
Yeah, go ahead.
No judgment, right?
No
We started the show like that. My favorite flavor, and I think I'm going to give my age away, and I'm also going to give away the fact that I haven't smoked in a long time.
Long pipe.
And I don't know, is this flavor still a thing? But was it the peppermint or the spearmint? That was my favorite flavor. So yeah, but the last time I smoked a pipe, years ago, and it wasn't like an everyday thing for me. So, but how old was I? I think I was about 16, 17 the first time that I smoked a pipe.
And that was primarily because peers, friends were smoking it.
Not because of peer pressure. I must just put it out there. It was mainly a thing of I wanted to try it.
Okay.
My personality, I'm not easily peer pressured. So when I try something, it's really because I'm a voorbarig. I want to know.
I can actually remember my first time smoking the Hookah pipe. It was actually in Aldo's.
I was 2 years old.
I was,
I'm just
Eldon looks like
you
a
know,
person.
hey guys, what can I say?
no judgment, no judgment.
I've always been a leader, right?
Okay,
Born
come
leader.
on now.
And so
So
when
you
this thing,
introduced your friends to the pipe.
no, let's just get it straight.
No, it's
So
fine.
when this thing came
Leadership roles.
with the hookah, but nonetheless, when this thing came, when it started trending in the community and stuff, I was like, you know what, I wanna have one of those. But obviously, like Leandra, growing up in a Christian home, I knew that having one of these, it's probably gonna be a mess up in my home. So what I think I did was I hid mine at a friend's place where the parents were more lenient and they were understanding. Ach man, is net kinders man. Hulle weet nie wat, But anyway, my favorite flavor was apple. I think it was apple, and then later on it was peach.
Okay.
Yeah. And then started smoking the thing, and it was like a cool fashion statement. If I smoke and, you do the circles with just making circles here and there. And that was like, yo.
I remember that.
And come and tell you, if you made circles, you were like the coolest gent in the
Yeah,
group.
yeah.
If you could make circles. So that was me, right? And then eventually, it just didn't go well with my system. I used to get dizzy. I was hungry after smoking the thing. I even vomited the one
Are you
time.
sure it wasn't a dirty pipe?
It wasn't a dirty pipe.
Okay.
That time there was no dirty pipes.
Oh, okay.
So we used to hotbox.
Used to wash a pipe.
Yo.
Like get into like a car.
I remember
close
hotboxing.
the windows.
You guys are going to have to educate me here now.
So hotbox is when you basically like
In a
in
closed
confined
space.
space,
Yeah.
confined
Just
space.
fill it up
Yes.
with
You
smoke.
fill it up with
basically.
smoke. I literally remember.
So there's no ventilation, basically.
And well, you said a dirty pipe. What does that
That's
mean?
weed in the pipe.
Yeah.
That's what
So-
the new kids do now. So
The new kids.
Yeah, so the new kids on the block, they add weed. It's like crush it up and then they put it into the
With the
pipe
flavor.
with the flavor to get like a A high.
Hi.
Yeah.
Okay.
And Jess, you?
Yeah.
No,
Yes.
I was.
Come on, preach, Pastor.
Ja, alles like ons soek
Ja,
vir Jessie, vir
Op
Jessie,
de
vir Jessie.
kansencontainer.
Ons soek vir Jessie.
Ik wil hoor. So me, I never started off at 2 years old and all that stuff. I was actually very scared of
Late
the pipe.
bloomer.
Yeah. Reason being is because I always took football very serious.
Yeah.
So I was very scared of the pipe and that interfering with my football. I remember the first time I did try the pipe. It was also at a point where it's like, Jan, God, you're not doing anything for my football. I'm gonna face you.
Yo, you say
Wow.
you want to spite God with a
then
pipe.
Spite God.
Yo, spite
then
God
I
with a
tried
pipe.
it. Then I tried it and then, yeah, it also didn't really sit well with me the first time. And I also don't really have like that where I get addicted to stuff real quick. I'm not that type of person where I try something, I'm like, yo, I must do it again now.
Yeah.
No. I did try it again after that, but not like immediately after. It was like literally a social thing.
Yeah.
When I came around friends that were smoking and stuff, then I'll take maybe 2 pulls from them and then just sit and watch them smoke the rest. It was literally also just a thing of, okay, I'm with the people that smoke. I'll on the way interact with them this
Do what
way.
the Romans do.
Yeah, basically interact with them and just, yeah, I don't want to be that one where a wet blanket.
Party pooper.
Yeah, you see. So it was literally that. It wasn't a thing of,
Yeah.
pass a pipe. No, it was literally just like a 2 pull and out.
So, Mr. Rowe, we because of time, I'd like to get Carol in if it's possible with you. So I'd like for her to introduce herself and let
Yes.
us know what she does, and then we'll get into the conversation, and then Reverend Sauce will also come in and tell us what is happening globally, what's happening, and you will tell us what's happening locally. So you do the honors, Mr. Rowe.
Well, Carol, if you can come online, I think Carol can introduce herself.
Yes.
Because she knows exactly and has all the knowledge in terms of who she is. I must just add, if there's one thing that I've learned, or somebody that I've learned a lot from, with regard to anti-tobacco and the cultural implications of it. I mentioned in my conversation with Leandra, one of the things that just stood
Blew
out
your
for
mind.
me, blew my mind, that Carol brought to, was when she brought Dave Chappelle onto the show.
Wow.
Right? And said that Dave Chappelle was influenced by tobacco companies that brought tobacco to the communities. They literally gave it for free to the youngsters in the community, and that's how Dave Chappelle became an addictive smoker and
What?
a chain smoker. Right, and up until today, he's still smoking.
Still
and
smokes, yeah.
Exactly.
And he does his comedy with smoking.
Smoking.
Yeah.
And it all because tobacco companies went into the communities and gave that. But let's give over to Carol and let her introduce herself. Welcome, Carol.
Oh, hello. Good morning. Good evening. It's 12:30 where I am in California. So I love you very much. I'm just meeting some of you, but I love you. I had to get up and rouse myself, but thank God Pastor Sauls called me. So I am Carol Magruder, and I just want to give you a little, first of all, I've really been enjoying your conversation. I want to give you a little background about me, other than I have been working in commercial tobacco control for about over 25 years. I, as a student in San Francisco, California, in high school, participated in African Liberation Day, as we called it, and we had protests and march. When I got to my university, San Francisco State University, I was the chair of the Pan-African Students Union, which was a radical thing at the time because we had Black Students Union, but we were very early on embracing our African heritage and roots, and that has been a part of my whole life. I also, when I began traveling as a young woman in the 80s, the West Africans got me first. So I traveled all around West Africa and ended up marrying a Senegalese man. I'm the proud mother of a Senegalese woman who's in her 30s now in Atlanta. I'm in California. So I have always had a foot on the continent and very much concerned working to end apartheid, protesting and doing many different things. And met Pastor Sauls in San Francisco. We were working in the community in the hood. And I always saw the similarities between South Africans and African Americans, I think because of some of the brutality that we both suffered in a very unique way. I think that other Africans with colonization was a little different, very different with what South Africans experienced, and much more similar to the racism and oppression and slavery that we faced in America. So that bond, that link has always been there for me. So tobacco brought Africans to the United States of America to cultivate it. That was the first crop, not cotton, that enslaved Africans were brought to the United States to cultivate. And so here we are now, full circle, coming back to the continent dealing with tobacco. So my organization, the African American Tobacco Control Leadership Council, we have been working to get Newport cigarettes, mentholated tobacco products off of the market. And that, in America, there's a racial overlay on everything. So there's a racial overlay on health, there's a racial overlay on tobacco control. And as Pastor Boris said, these products were actually distributed in the Black community, given away to children as young as 9 years old. When Dave Chappelle was given his cigarettes, he was 14. And that, there are a couple of things that as I was listening to your conversation, that are key to this issue, whether it's hookah, whether it's menthol, and I believe the sister is Leah. Is that how you pronounce your name, Leah? When you talk Lee, that you like the mint, that you like the peppermint, and so mint and peppermint, that's all the same. And mint there's an analgesic quality to it. It actually cools your throat and numbs it. It increases your cell permeability in your lungs, so it allows you to hold the toxic nicotine in your lungs deeper and longer. So mint and menthol are crucial elements to this, as are the other flavors. And then there's another thing that you said was curiosity. So we have a saying in my church, tell the truth and stay in church. So I want to say that I would have tried hookah as a young adult. I definitely would have tried it. It's exotic. And my daughter now went to a Black college in Atlanta. All the young Black professionals down there are smoking it because of that whole exoticism that's with it. But it is nicotine, it is tobacco, even though it's mixed with other things, it is addictive. And when you do a hookah session, it's like you're smoking a pack of cigarettes. So people need to really understand that. And that smoke
Carol,
is
if
about
I can maybe just interject there. I spoke to a doctor, Mohit Devi Singh, who's a medical specialist and he's a pulmonologist, right? He actually stated that an hour of hookah is equivalent to smoking 2 packs of 20 cigarettes.
Wow.
Right, in one session. So, and maybe, Carol, if you can maybe just give us your perspective in terms of how hookah, in our discussion, you mentioned that hookah is not so prevalent in America at the moment as it is becoming, and I mean, Eldrin mentioned it, it's almost like a trend, it's a vibe, it's a, to be in, you have to, when I went to fetch my hookah this morning, I said to the guys, why is it now difficult to get a hookah? But when I come and visit on a Sunday afternoon,
it's
there's
everywhere.
literally at every house, in front of every house, you'll find a group of youngsters sitting with a hookah. But now that I'm asking for one, they basically,
nowhere to be found.
It's nowhere to be found. But how?
Sorry, Mr. Rowe, you was on that note, which is just to introduce it in here. Adele was actually saying, one of our viewers, she says that when she was in Cape Town in April, she was actually quite shocked that there was a hookah lounge, and hookah lounges are so prevalent now, which means that in restaurants now they actually supply you with hookahs.
Exactly.
And you can order hookah. So that is definitely, when we speak about culture, that is where we're at. And I think Reverend Sauls wants to come in, and then we'll give over to Carol.
Reverend Sauls?
No, I was just going to say, when I was home the last time, I had a great time at Cubano, and Cubano is all about hookah. If you haven't been, that's right, just down the road up there, it's all about hookah. And when I was at the last time, I had some young people, from Los Angeles with me, around that. So it's very, very prevalent. In fact, Carol well, she was just in another, African country. She can share with you about her experience there around hookah. So, but just, full disclosure, I've smoked hookah twice. Okay, so we're gonna be real. I'm gonna be real. The first time I smoked was actually when I visited when I visited, Palestine, and I was staying for a couple of days in a Palestinian village with a family. And so when we talk about, the cultural aspect of it, that's what it was. After dinner, the men go downstairs and they have a time off. They're hanging out. We go stand by the galley or whatever we do, right? Okay. Back in the day, I don't think, folk do the galley now. But anyway, and then, so I asked them, what is this? And, we talked about it, and they explained to me, the significance of it. And I took a couple of puffs, just because, it was offered to me as hospitality, around that. And then the other time that I smoked it, I was visiting with some friends in Houston, and that's, and I went to a hookah lounge, actually, to do that. So it's becoming very, very prevalent, in the United States, especially as we're dealing with flavor tobacco.
Yes.
Because that's the connection between these. Flavor, it smells good, it tastes good, but the strategy is, we want to get you hooked while you're young.
Exactly.
And keep you hooked for life.
That's right.
In terms of that. So,
If I can maybe just um,
Whole focus was on the menthol, on the Newport cigarette. So if you watch any TV that comes from the United States that has to do with Black folks, if somebody's smoking, it's a green pack, and that's those menthols. But we had to now give some love and attention to hookah, because hookah is just proliferating all over the Black community here in the United States. And then now that we're doing more work again in Africa, we're seeing that proliferation. So in the state of California, which California is a small country, our economy is that if we were a country, we'd be the 5th largest country in the world. So that's the might and the population of California. We actually successfully passed a state law, the second only in the United States, that would have removed flavored tobacco products from the market. So the tobacco industry is fighting us on that. But hookah was given an exemption. And so the hookah lobby, it's a chamber of commerce, they come out with a beautiful hookah pipe and they say, this is about culture, this is about tradition. It's not about these multinational tobacco companies like British American Tobacco, which is actually a South African tobacco company that now owns Reynolds American, that owns Newport cigarettes. So that targeting, is full circle. But the reality is that hookah is about money. It's about addicting young brains to nicotine products. And that, some of the comments I heard from our young host here is that, I don't get easily addicted. I heard someone say that. So addiction is about brain chemistry, and it's about access to people. It's not about some people are weak and they're going to get addicted and some people are not. Some people are going to get addicted because they're young and your brain actually changes and grows these nicotine receptors. And so we are able to measure that with PET scans, where people, when you smoke, your brain actually lights up from all the nicotine receptors. So the younger you are, when you begin using these products, the more addicted you become. And so that's what we see with Dave Chappelle. I love Dave Chappelle, and he cannot make it through a concert without smoking. If he doesn't bring it on stage, he'll bum it from the audience. And because he is who he is, he's allowed to do that, because legally in America, you're not supposed to smoke in a public place anymore because it's so toxic and dangerous. So somehow hookah is getting a pass on our secondhand smoke laws that we have had in place for 20 years in the state of California. And then we're just seeing this proliferation in the Black community here. And then now I'm learning more about what's going on the continent. So our people need to look at this. It's a political issue as well as a health issue. And that as sexy and cute and fun as it may appear to be, it is dangerous. It is terrible for the health. It is addictive. And we have enough problems as a people all over the world. and we can't afford to add one more to it. And so in my presentations, I talk about many of our African American communities operate like underdeveloped African countries in the confines of the United States of America, the richest country on the earth. So many of the issues that we have are actually the same issues that you all have. And so we need to look at this as it's a health issue, and it's really a crisis, because once it gets a hold, as you're seeing, what I'm hearing, people are addicted to it, and they're going to keep using it, and it creates a culture, it creates a norm that this is normal. So when you see it, people out on Sunday, out in the front, I've seen some of the pictures. That's the normalization of these products, and that's what we need to fight very hard and strong, because we don't want it to take hold more than it already has.
A couple of years ago, I went with my uncle to visit a family, because he was doing some work for them. And when we went to the family, it was just after dinner, and the father and the mother then sat in the kitchen. They put the hookah right in the center of the table. They started smoking, right? Lo and behold, here the two children came in. They hooked in, and they were also smoking. I was dumbstruck, because this was like, wow. I couldn't believe that it was parents with their children, and it is absolutely fine. Yeah. Now, maybe just to take the conversation in a different, and I know Carol spoke a lot about the health aspect of it. I just want to give you, remember, Mr. Roll keeps it real?
Keep it real.
Wow.
Real
So
Roll.
let me keep it real. We were going to have Dr. Mary on the show this morning to give some perspective just on the health implications of smoking hookah.
Yeah.
Now, I already mentioned to you Dr. Mohit Debbie Singh from Charlotte Matsege Hospital here in Johannesburg. He's a pulmonologist. Now, let me just explain to you what a pulmonologist is. It's a subspecialty of medicine with a specific focus on diseases of the lungs and the respiratory tract, right? So he gave this information, and I can quote him. You can go and check it. It's in the public space, and he's a specialist specifically. He is a Muslim, right? But he raises the concerns around the prevalence and the use of hookah, because yes, even though it is a cultural thing that started in the United Arab Emirates, right? It's however become a dangerous drug that has long-term effects on the health of people. And one thing that he mentioned, and he said that the reality is that it took 60 years before the harmful effects of cigarettes showed its deadly head, right? Because when they started doing their research, 60 years after people started smoking tobacco, that they saw the deadly effects of it. Now, the thing is, hookah is so, it's still early stages, right? But it's, like I said, 40 to 50 times more dangerous than a cigarette, smoking a cigarette. So he mentions that the time frame of us seeing the effects of it is going to be much sooner. Another interesting fact is that Professor Michael Herbst of the Cancer Association of South Africa was asked the question, is smoking a hookah pipe less harmful than cigarettes? He confirmed that there's no difference between smoking a hookah and smoking ordinary tobacco, because all hookah-related products, including vaping, contains some sort of nicotine, which is addictive, and tobacco. And the effects of it is diseases like lung cancer, emphysema, chest, lung inflammation, tuberculosis. And one interesting he mentioned, he says, they find that people that has tuberculosis, when they continue smoking, specifically vaping, okay, thank you, Jeff.
Somebody give Mr. Roden a pull on that pipe.
Yeah, let me get a pull on the pipe. I'm fumbling over my words here. Right? He said that the people are actually resistant to the medication that they are trying to give the people, right? So even the sick are not getting better because of
That's true.
Sorry, Uncle Ross.
No, so Mr. Rowe, you mentioned something, and I thank you for mentioning those health. We were hoping to get Dr. Mary in just to get a little more understanding from a health perspective. But it's like Reverend Sauls, when he started off, he mentioned something very important when he was talking about we in a global pandemic. We're sitting with COVID-19, and COVID-19, we know that it primarily attacks the pulmonary system, the respiratory tract, like you were saying. So obviously, we don't see these subtle seeds, and Carol also mentioned it, the way it's being introduced, it becomes, they play on the cultural, traditional thing. But before you know it...
And that it is fine. Then
Exactly,
it's okay
exactly. It's not that harmful. It's in water. But you know what? It makes it worse. You don't really think further than that. And that's the problem with our... And Carol was mentioning it. You said the African-American community, and also here our people of color, which is black and brown people. That is the problem that we have. We don't think further than what is just thrown to us. Like, you go, Eldrin will say, no, there's nothing wrong with it. It's in water. And we don't do it that often, and it doesn't harm anybody else. There's no secondhand smoking. The next person, then I hop on what Aldrin said, and I say, yeah, no, it's not that harmful because it's in water. So we don't really know the facts. We just go with according to what the next person says. We like guinea pigs. Literally, that's what we've become. We've become guinea pigs in the white monopoly labs, if that's what I can call it. And I'm making. But before Aldrin's going to get onto that, then I want to ask, I'm going to throw the question to either Reverend Sauls or to Carol. We spoke about the health implications. Let's speak about the social implications. Carol mentioned what's happening in the US, in some of the states. What is happening here locally? Because I don't know of any laws that are being passed. I remember that we were supposed to have that you're not allowed to smoke in public spaces and stuff. People didn't take that seriously at all. So they don't care at the end of the day. Secondhand smoking is a thing. So I want to speak about the social ramifications of tobacco. And also with that, Mr. Rowe and I were speaking about vaping, which you mentioned. So now it's become more accessible. You don't have to walk around with this huge pipe. Now you've got vaping because it's flavor and it's both. It's best of both worlds. It's like Albany best of both, basically. So I want to get Eldrin speaking, then I want to throw the question over.
Awesome. Thank you, Leandra. I think ultimately,
Hey, it's
Mr. Rowe, come on. Come on now. I ultimately just wanted to... Maybe I need a two pull and out. But nonetheless, I ultimately was just thinking about what Carol spoke about. And it was basically the generational thing, the effect that this thing has. Right now, the future mother and fathers are smoking this thing like heavy.
Yes.
So
it's become part of their home culture.
Exactly my point. So what are their children going to do? You get what I'm saying? Because now our mothers and our fathers, they were never introduced to this thing. They never used to do this thing. Now you see like children of today introducing their parents to this thing. And now the future parents are already like consumed in this thing. So what are their kids going to do one day?
It's interesting that you mentioned that, because all of us said that we were scared of our parents.
Yeah.
Because it wasn't allowed in the home. That's
and
the
now
reason
parents
why.
Are doing it.
And now there's access. So over to Carol and Reverend, whoever wants to jump in, Reverend Sauls, on the social ramifications of this.
That's the community norm change. And that is what is so dangerous. And so when we're taking these products offline, taking them out, in our community, my community where I grew up, there are lots of liquor stores. So as a child growing up, you're just seeing that's just what the norm, that there are all these liquor stores, tobacco stores, and it culturates you that when you get a certain age, you're going to do that too, because that you eat the fish in the pond that's in your neighborhood. So that point that you're making is that I was afraid there are many things I wouldn't do around my father. So as I got into experimentation as a young person, it was when I went to college. It was when I went away from my family. And that's a protectorate that we had. So, but when you start having your parents hitting the pipe with you, then that's very dangerous. And nicotine is a primer for other drugs. So it's what we call a gateway drug. And people misinterpret that as that it's a social gateway, but it's actually, it primes your brain to be addictive to other substances. So when children are smelling, even if they're not actually doing it, they're smelling and inhaling the secondhand smoke, and that is getting into their system. It affects your brain. It affects your educational abilities to learn. And it's very dangerous and very harmful. So we need to really look at the big picture. And then, you know, I know I'm with a bunch of young people. So you're thinking you're going to live forever. You're not worried about your heart and your health. But another problem with its nicotine and the smoking, it's about blood flow and blood circulation. So for people who are diabetic, in the United States, most of our amputations for diabetes are smokers, because it affects the circulation. Also for younger people, for men, erectile dysfunction, because erections are about blood flow and circulation, and smoking it harms that as well. So it's working so negatively on our body in so many different ways. And we want to create the norm. And then I also heard somebody talk about laws. So our laws that we pass, there's no policeman coming around saying, you know, don't smoke. But when you pass a law, that's very important. And then you begin that process so that people will self-enforce. So now, you know, with vaping and things, it's undermining the fabric that, especially in California, that we've set up, where people weren't smoking around other people. People would go outside and smoke. So all that's been, you know, jumbled up, and now hookah, vaping, all these different products. But we have to reel it back in, and we have to realize how noxious and dangerous this is for the health of our community, our children. And we have to, you know, we have to get these products out of our communities, whether it's hookah, whether it's Newport cigarettes, it's all a variation on a theme.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think the other piece to add to what Kelly's saying is really to understand the manipulation that's going on and the deception that's going on. I mean, when I look at a music video from South Africa, you know, it's hard not to see that vaping is going on, even in Jerusalem. You see, you know, in terms now, Master KG, you know, he talks about, you know, that kind of a gospel song. But if you look at that initial video before the dance, okay, and we know the dance was a trend, you know, there was some vaping, you know, going on, you know, in there. So it's just this whole piece about manipulation around what is cool and what is acceptable, right? And that's how, you know, these products get promoted because, you know, of the predatory practices, you know, of these companies. And so once you become curious and you get on it, you know, it just, you know, becomes very, very, you know, difficult to, you know, to give it up. The other piece is, it provides a false sense of community, right?
Mm-hmm.
That people now gather and form community or friendships or conversation around something that is actually destructive. And yet, you know, we've allowed it, you know, mentally to give us the perception that it's actually an opportunity to build community, and it's, you know, around that. So I think, you know, scripture tells us you will know the truth and the truth will set you free. And so I think that's what it's about in the end, is how do we don't want to, you know, I was a youth pastor, right? And my thing was always, you never want to tell young people what to do. The greatest gift that I had was to share the truth with them, you know, and then let them decide, you know, what they're going to do, you know, around it. And I think that's what it's about. That's why we're doing this. That's why as a pastor, as the faith community, we are concerned about it, because we understand the deception and the destruction, you know, and the manipulation that's going on. And we just want to make sure that people get hooked on God's plan for their lives. You see, around.
thoughts for that. So we've reached the end of our show, but before we get into that, I want some closing remarks. But you were mentioning a false sense of culture that we form, and even with this anti-tobacco, no tobacco awareness campaign this month, we can create a false sense of culture hashtag about it, but we don't do anything about it. And I'm always of the opinion that if we're gonna put hashtags out there, we should actually do something. And at the moment, speaking to Carol and seeing the work that she's doing, and even Reverend Swords with the work that they are doing, you, Mr. Rowe, the work that you are doing, I think that is the kind of commitment and responsibility that we as the youth have for the next generation. So I'm going to ask for advice from you guys, because you already in it. You are busy with awareness campaigns. You are busy with anti-tobacco campaigns. So I'm going to ask you, this is going to be the closing remarks. What can we do as young people to participate in this conversation and this narrative to bring awareness to people about the negative effects of it? I'll open it up. Either we'll close with you, Mr. Rowe.
Okay.
I think let's go to Carol first, and then we'll go to Reverend Sauls, and then we'll go to Mr. Rowe, and we'll close it up.
Well, this morning, Pastor Sauls and I, we had breakfast and we were talking about how we're going to continue this relationship that we're building. And so, and I think, the power of young people now with the internet, you all can do things together without getting on a plane. And so we will be looking to see what we can do on our end to foster that, and to use this as a way to build community. And I was just thinking about Pastor Sauls, because it's with the hookah, it's almost like you're sharing a meal with people. You're sharing this experience. So we need to think about what can we replace that with that's healthy, so that people can share without killing themselves and becoming addicted. And I just want to applaud you. It's been wonderful to hear you and to participate in this. It was worth getting up in the middle of the night. And so our website is amplify.love. So www.amplify.love. Please get on there and get on our list. And that way we will be having a cohort for what we're going to do for the continent, because we know Africa is young, and that's where the industry will be going, to a young population that has discretionary income, and that's you all. And so, and we, not on my watch, and as we protect ourselves over here in America and in Europe, then they dump all that stuff on the continent. And so not on my watch. That's not going to happen or continue to happen.
Yeah, I think, for me, doing what you guys did this morning, I think that is very, very important. An integral aspect for me around my work with young people is real. 1 Timothy 4, verse 12. And I think this is what I really think young people need to grasp, around that is get to know and understand your purpose and your power and the path that God has called you on. I think that is so critical, and participate in that path. Cannot be a follower of Jesus Christ and be a spectator. You got to be a participant in terms of that. So first, Timothy, 4 verse 12 says this: don't let anyone look down on you because you are young. In other words, don't let anyone lie to you. Don't let anyone take advantage of you. Don't let anyone lead you astray. Claim your power. Don't let your youth, even though it's vanity, don't let it become slippery. That you just go ahead and fall for anything. But listen to what it says now. Don't let anyone look down on you because you are young, but set an example, right, for the believers. So here Paul writes to Timothy, young Timothy, that was probably your age, and he says, you look, if adults don't set the example, you set the example, right? So that nobody can despise your youth in terms of that. Set an example in speech, in conduct, in love, in faith, and in purity. Scripture is so central, to how I do what I do, especially when it comes to young people. You have the power, to change not only your generation, but also the generations before you, but most importantly, to pave a transformational path for generations to come. I think that's, what you can do. Don't just, tweet the hashtag, right? Be and become the hashtag, and I think that's where the power lies.
Thank you so much, Reverend Sauls. Thank you so much, Carol. Your insights here were absolutely invaluable, and we will definitely run with that. We will also put your link in our description below so that other young people can also get involved in the conversation. We would love to be part of that as well. Mr. Rowe, closing remarks from you, and then we're going to end this conversation.
Yeah.
I think my closing remark, I want to read a quote from Jim Rohn. One of the things is that our communities are ignorant, and it's our responsibility to educate them. And I love this quote by Jim Rohn. It says, ignorance is not bliss. Ignorance is tragedy. Ignorance is devastation. Ignorance creates lack. Ignorance creates disease. Ignorance will shorten your life. Ignorance will empty your life and leave you with the husks, nothing to account for. And if we don't take the responsibility to educate and speak to our communities, especially our young ones, this is the future. And like I said, the research, there's just not enough research, but that research is going to come quick and fast.
Yes.
Yeah.
And before that comes, we need to take the responsibility and speak out and create further awareness.
Awesome. Thanks, Mr. Rowe. Power
Awesome.
to you, power to the people, power to the youth.
Yeah.
Mr. What's cooking? Jezza, what's happening? Your side, closing remarks.
I just want to say thanks to the guests for waking up so
Late.
early, not sure which one, but thank you so much. Your insights was very powerful, if I must say. We learned a lot from you guys. And yeah, like Leandra said, looking forward to jumping on board with this and not just tweeting the hashtag, but being involved in it as well. And yeah, thanks to the viewers for watching as well. Hope you guys learned something new here today. And yeah, that's about it from my side. We can go over to Mr. Miller.
Thank you, Mr. Miller.
Thank you so much to our awesome guests that we had on today's show. I think ultimately, Rev, I want to also just say something from the Bible, and this comes out of Romans 12 verse 1. Therefore I urge you, brothers and sisters, in view of God's mercy, to offer your bodies as a living sacrifice. God has given you and myself this body to steward over for the time that we will be on earth. I want to leave you with the question, how are you stewarding what God has given you?
Wow.
So good. So good. Yesterday, wow. Dropping facts, dropping power here. And we can end it with that. You know what I'm saying? You don't move into someone's house and make a mess of it. Is that not so? Hey, thank you, Mr. Miller. Wow, I see that Rev was like fist pumping you there, virtually fist pumping you. So yes, definitely to our viewers, firstly to our guests, once again, thank you so very much for this. It was such an important conversation to have. And we are definitely going to steer this thing forward. We're going to set the example. We're going to live well. We're going to steward our bodies, and we're going to help our fellow peers do the same thing. To our viewers who watch, thank you so much for getting involved. I want to say thank you to Adele and Clayton for interacting with us on the show. It was absolutely amazing. It's always so nice to have you guys commenting, getting involved in the conversation. It's awesome. But until next week, we've got some exciting things happening. We're still going to continue with this conversation on the Anti-Tobacco Awareness Month. We will continue with it because it's not just a once-off thing. We're not just going to stop there. We need to get this in your face. We're going to become those irritating people, parasites. But we need to do it because that's what
For your
people
good.
do. That's what people do when they smoke. They don't care about you. They smoke in your face. We're going to use that same strategy. We're coming for you. Not on my watch, as Carol said. That's what I'm going to do. I want a
Come
photo
on.
after this. I want a photo after this. I'm going to be like, not on my watch. Thank you so much. And then we will continue with this conversation, but we also have an amazing lineup going forward for the rest of this month. And even in June, we've got some guests. I'm not going to mention anything further, but I just want you to know that we got some fire guests coming in studio here because this is the Whensday Warm-Up. Until next time, thank you so much. Love you. Bye.